say bring back me crown. As we celebrate the 28th anniversary, it's going to be big back and now in the country.
Good night, and welcome back to the bench meeting. You know, what will be your final episode of the Monday night slot, as I mentioned previously. We'll be moving to Sunday evenings from 4 till 5 and maybe even longer, 5 to 6, to facilitate a lot more of these interactions like I'm going to have tonight. Apologies, humble apologies for being late. I had some what I consider technical difficulties, but I guess in the perspective of things, it ain't really that technical. But we have our guests here with me already in studio, so that's a good thing. No need to run all the way through the results and everything else, other than to say that this weekend, from a local football perspective, was a little frustrating because we had the postponement of the start of the SKNFA season. I am now reliably informed, and I think it's been circulated now, that this would start in this upcoming weekend now, with the fixtures finally being out. So some level of agreement has been reached between the SKNFA and the NEOC. There was also going to mention the golf club update, because there was a follow-up on this with Mr. Darian. Well, was supposed to. I followed up with Mr. Fleming and one or two other golf enthusiasts on the island and persons who've been working in the industry, just to find out what took place at the AGM, which was 2 Tuesdays back. Sad to say there's been no meaningful solutions coming out, so nobody can give any sort of definitive time or date when the resumption of golf will take place. From the indications that I've gotten, there's 2 bits of authorization to take place. One is the NEOC has to approve the usage of the facility, and they have to pass certain levels of certification, and that was being awaited, whilst there was also the management of the Marriott itself, whom is saying that they are awaiting this to be able to push forward, and once management of Marriott gives the okay, then golf resumes. But nobody has been able to gather any more information beyond that. So somewhat of a stalemate still, but we are hopeful. We've been having discussions all around, and hopefully there'll be some movement in this direction. And finally, we had, which would lead nicely into our little discussion for tonight, we had what I consider a very relieving set of results for West Indies cricket over the last 2 weekends, I would say. I personally am encouraged by the level of character displayed by the young men who chose to, stepped up, I should say, that's the word I should use, stepped up to represent the West Indies. And I know there are some detractors that would say, yes, it is only Bangladesh, but given the form and the results coming into this series, and even the way in which the series was won, it was not one without its drama. It was not one without its fight. It was not one without its level of, as I said, character. Its level of thought process. I think we enjoyed the intrigue of the series. We enjoyed the shining of the youths coming through, and it's a feel-good factor all around. For the most part, have gotten all positive feedback. Sometimes a little too positive, because now we're saying that Craig Brathwaite should be offered the captaincy now instead of his current captain, whom I think was one of the players who opted out of this current tour. But as for me, the way I look at it, I tend to agree with Phil Simmons. What this does is that it increases competition. So now everybody's got to fight for their place, and I am hoping that he sticks to his word in that regard. And if so, then from what we've seen with this current crop, paired along some of those experienced veterans who are underperforming or were underperforming, but now forced to perform because of the challenge of some of these youngsters. The road ahead doesn't look as gloomy as it did post the England and New Zealand series, where we were walloped, for the lack of a better expression. So maybe it is that was the bottom of the valley, and now from here it's the way up. And as I said, overall there's a nice feel-good factor about it as far as West Indies cricket is concerned. A bit of Premier League news. I don't want to go through the results because I don't think I'll have time for that. Needless to say, I can do the bigger ones though. Everton kind of, for me, conceding their European hopes. They went under 2-0 to Fulham, who outplayed them in every respect. Arsenal had a very good game against Leeds, I'm enjoying watching them play football, but they obviously have a lot of learning to do. But even when they lose, I still enjoy watching them play football. And there's hope for them. In fact, I think they will be one of the top teams staying up, but I'm wondering how far up the table they would go. Anyways, I can't stick on some of the points I would like to. Manchester continues to underperform. They drew 1-1 with West Bromwich Albion, but that does not say that Sam Allardyce did not pull out one of his more classic numbers in achieving that result. Manchester City continued their rich vein of form. They put a thorough 3-0 spanking, forcing in Tottenham, forcing Jose Mourinho to now go back to the drawing board and admit to a certain extent that he's mishandled some players and he would like to do things a little differently. So good on City. I don't know how Mourinho is gonna be able to live that down. One of the more shocking results of the weekend, the 3-1 spanking that Leicester put in Liverpool. I think it forced Jurgen Klopp to admit that Liverpool has conceded their title this season. I don't think they have an opportunity. There are a number of different reasons. I think more so right now because City, they are not slowing down, and Liverpool continues to stutter. And secondly, their injury problems are not abating at this point. And if they're unable to get over the injury issues, they will not be able to mount a proper challenge to the trophy or to retain the EPL championship. So, I mean, some persons might say it's a bit premature to award it to City, but I believe City had their worst vein of form early in the season. They've now overcome that hurdle. They've solidified their defense, and they're now 15 or 16 games won on the trot in all competitions. It's going to be hard to slow that train down, and it'll be interesting to see how many trophies they come out with at the end of this season, considering their current form. As far as Liverpool is concerned, I think they had a very strong team last season. And for the past 3 seasons, or 2 seasons prior to that, they were putting these parts together. When they finally got the parts together, and the machine was running at its full capacity, they never bothered to try and look at maintenance and repairs. So they did the squad aspect of it. I think is what cost Jurgen Klopp. It was a bit of naivety in terms of how they went about preparing for this new season. Yes, they got on nice midfielders and attacking players, but they really needed to supplement their defensive players, and it really took a toll on them. And sad to say, they would not be. In fact, right now at this stage, they're going to be fighting for a top 4 place, so they may not even be in Champions League. And to move from champions to outer Champions League places in one season would be a hell of a fall. Big blow to their pride, among other things. So that's the Premier League roundup for this weekend. Next weekend is supposed to even have more interesting fixtures. And then I'll discuss a little bit more the rise of Arsenal, the stuttering of Manchester United, and the consistency of Leicester as part of my discussion. Just to remind everyone that the discussion will be taking place on Sunday at 4 to 5. New timing to facilitate longer discussions, to facilitate better interviews, because I realize that Monday evenings it's more difficult to get persons to commit. And it also is to facilitate, hopefully most times on Sunday evenings, persons are at home, afternoons, at home relaxing, watching some level of sport, albeit cricket, football, golf, even volleyball in some instances, and probably tune in to WINN FM, log on to WINN FM on your Facebook page, or WINNMedia on your Facebook page, and follow us on Instagram at The Bench Meeting. So we'll take a little break, and then when we return, we are going to be discussing a little bit of cricket, some local cricket, and I'm getting in from some experienced individuals who have been in and around the cricket field, Mr. Calvin James and Mr. Batiste, and we'll be going into a bit more, and let's see how that goes. So take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Sexy woman, feel, fight, flow, from. What they gonna do when dynamics are come to crank up the backside? Crank up the backside, 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 crank up the backside. Give me this. Well, Gucci, like you know this is the last lap. Sing it, get ready. We gonna do it on 4. Nevis, get ready. Where the Green Valley Massive. On 4, I want you to get ready to crank. On 4, I want you to get ready to crank. 1, get ready to crank. 2, get ready to crank. 1, crank, 2, crank, 1, 2, 3, 4. Crank up the backside. 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 Sing it, get ready. I want to see you crank up. Everybody crank up. I wanna see you crank up. Everybody crank up. I wanna see you crank up. Everybody crank up. I wanna see you crank up. Everybody crank up. Man like Elton, I wanna see you crank up. Man like Maestro, I want to see you crank up. Brand name Rascal, I want to see you crank up. Sugar Boy, you want pep? Crank up. Crank, 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 crank. Say it massive. I wanna see you crank up. Mama, I wanna see you crank up. I wanna see you crank up.
And we're back after a nice little crank up. And we want to welcome our 2 guests tonight. As I said, Mr. Calvin James, he called in. He's one of our regular listeners, especially as it relates to the topic. And he's also been quite involved in cricket. Even before we knew each other, in terms of these discussions, we would have met, and your enthusiasm for cricket and involvement in cricket has always been there from the very beginning, from my days when I was at Digicel. And that's some, 7 years ago
since
now.
the Cricket World Cup.
Since the cricket. Oh, yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Since the Cricket World Cup. That's where we start. Mr. Batiste, this is the first time we'll be hearing you on the radio in terms of the bench meeting. So welcome to the bench meeting. Mr. James, thanks for coming. Thanks for volunteering.
You're welcome.
Thanks for being here, because we started, and I am certain have to, because I'm in constant contact with Mr. Berridge, Richard Berridge.
Yes.
He's eager as well to kick off to start back the discussions surrounding local cricket and where we can go. So this discussion here tonight is almost a follow-on from that,
Yes.
because you had some key points that I thought would have needed to be given a little bit more airtime.
That's correct.
So welcome, and then you can introduce yourself to the public, and then Mr. Batiste can do the same.
No problem at all. Thank you very much, Bob, for welcoming me here. My name is Calvin James. Cricket enthusiast, former president of the Veterans and later the Caribbean All-Stars Cricket Club. Also was an executive member of the Cricket World Cup executive panel with Mr. Vorsales and others. I've been involved in cricket around here since 2005 when I returned from Canada. And prior to that in Canada, I've been very much involved in cricket for over 20 years. Been president for 8 years in Western Canada, Calgary, Alberta to be exact. And since my return here, I really, I must say, compliment some of the activities and events that happen in cricket. But in more recent years, I realized that there is a real drop-off in cricket. And that's the reason why I'm here. I'm not here to do any promotion for any executive position. I'm not here trying to bash anybody or anything like that. I'm here really to bring awareness to the public because I believe that much more can be done to letting the public know what's happening in cricket, especially local cricket. I believe there's a void over the years for really developing cricket in schools in particular, primary school and secondary schools, and I've been advocating that for some time. But I still wanted to compliment and commend the St Kitts Cricket Association because I've heard that they're having a meeting sometime tomorrow or thereabout in regard to cricket, and I think that's good because we haven't been hearing anything over the years. And I really wanted to say, hey, that is really good, and I understand that Lynn Harris Cricket Academy also seem to be some movements up there. I haven't got any details, but I really want to encourage more open interaction, reaching out to the public at large, reaching out to the communities, going to schools, going to primary school. We're developing cricket East Zone, primary school, secondary school, central zone, and west zone. If you don't have the young people involved, all cricket will die. I believe that is the underscore pin that is required for cricket. And like any other organization, any kind of business, if you don't have new faces and young people coming in to give ideas and reach out to them and go to the communities and have town hall meetings and let people know what your plans are, get a major, we'll say, plan in place, and give them a scope, and reach out to have ideas and suggestions.
So you said that okay. Let me take a note of the question. Let me allow Mr. Batiste to introduce himself and explain his involvement in cricket as well in St Kitts and Nevis. Welcome again, Mr. Batiste.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be back in WINN FM studio once again. I have been involved in cricket for practically all my life, really. So I've been playing cricket since I was a youth, and I actually got involved in cricket commentaries back in 1998 here in St Kitts.
98?
Yeah, having come to St Kitts in 1994.
Okay.
It's something that I wanted to do since I was back home in the Spice Island of Grenada.
Nice.
But I got the break here in St Kitts, and that has taken me around the region covering regional 4-day cricket. And we have covered the Leeward Islands 3-day tournaments and just about all the first-class games.
Give me your first name again. Remind me.
Rodney.
Rodney Batiste.
Yeah.
So
Rodney.
most of the time when we have regional games, you're one of the commentators that would have been on the air. Okay.
Yes.
Excellent. And you've always been resident here, at least since 98 you've been
94.
resident. 94. You've been resident here in St Kitts.
Yeah, but I began the cricket commentaries. My cricket commentary career actually started in 1998, 4 years after coming to the Federation of St Kitts and Nevis.
Nice.
So that, as I said, has taken me around the region covering cricket and just about all the islands throughout the OECS and Barbados as well. So
well, if once you reach Barbados, you reach, and they consider themselves the Mecca.
Use the Mecca.
The Caribbean Mecca of cricket, eh?
That's correct.
Nice. And what about in terms of local cricket? Have you generally played a part, or is it just been in the commentary?
Yes, my part has been participating in the domestic competition. I represented the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. The ECCB had cash, but afterwards there was a sort of a breaking away in that we had some issues there, and after Mr. James and Jerry Louis, who was also a colleague of mine at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, formed the Veterans Cricket Club. Some of us made a shift and joined the Veterans Cricket Club, which later on was rebranded to the Caribbean All Stars Cricket Team.
Nice.
So some of us made that shift, and it has been, very interesting and quite entertaining, I dare say. A great learning experience playing within the local cricket competition here. We participated more in the second division, but I did represent the Newton Grong first-class cricket team in the first division in one game. Because I played first division cricket in Grenada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did play first division cricket in Grenada.
Oh, okay.
I also represented the combined schools team, combined secondary schools team in Grenada.
In Grenada?
Yeah, which was coached by the former Grenada captain, Kenny Hobson, who represented the Windward Islands. And a number of the top Grenada players. Kenny Hobson is now deceased. Unfortunately, we lost him some years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's obviously there's a lot to unpack there. We're gonna be talking about nearly three decades.
Way back.
Time flies, man. Time flies.
And an interesting perspective, because now you're sitting from the commentary box. Let me get back to you, Mr. James, before I forget the question.
Yeah.
Let's start from where we are at now, because I think in order to find out where we could be, we need to kind of establish what's happening now, and then start to chart
a way forward. Yeah.
From your understanding, and I guess, Mr. Batiste, you could, where are we now in terms of, I mean, notice you mentioned primary school cricket, secondary school cricket, and community-based cricket, domestic cricket on the whole. How are we placed now? Because from my driving by, and I am being very honest, many times I promise to stop at the Connery Cricket Centre to see what's going on there, and I noticed there has been a lot, because what happens, to be honest, the reason I can't do it more often than not is because I play football on the field during the morning. Usually if you see a group of guys out there playing on the morning, I am one of them.
Okay.
So by the time I get home now, after at my age, giving so much of myself on the morning, there's very little in the tank to leave in the afternoon, you know? But I noticed there's activity. So explain to me what's happening now from your understanding.
Well, let me first say, look, I'm not here to represent the St Kitts Cricket Association.
Agreed. No problem.
I'm just basically...
that's why I'm asking you from a layman's perspective. What's happening?
I want to make that clear, because I'm not the spokesman. I'm here from my observation and trying to help cricket move forward.
Okay.
But it's my understanding why I'm here is because I've got calls from some of the juniors that I had, some of the youngsters that I have, that enough cricket is not being played, despite the fact they have all considered we had COVID and all that stuff.
Right.
But what I think is more troubling is that a number of sports being advertised and promoted on the mainstream media. You hear about basketball, you hear about football, you hear about tennis and all that kind of stuff. And one of the other concerns that came to my attention too, and this happened for quite some time, is that Connery now becomes the headquarters for domestic cricket, right? And I think it's a good effort, but I believe they're losing the essence of having the youngsters be able to play semi-finals and finals games at the international stadium, to give them that experience. And not only that too, to bring out the representative from the communities, from the schools, and also to bring out the parents, especially on evening games. You know how good a parent will feel to see son walking down in the middle there at the Warner Park Stadium. Just like you have for football, just like you have for tennis. All those sports are being played in the international stadium. Okay. Right? At the same time, at the Kim Collins Stadium, you have all the inter-schools being on the international track.
Okay, so
we're going forward.
This is not. This is me asking questions based on the fact that I have little knowledge of either side of it.
Yes.
It seems from the outside looking in that the structure around whatever takes place in terms of Connery and the cricket matches and tournaments that go on there, it seems to be a very stable structure. It seems to be a very organized machinery. Isn't it easier to do so as a private entity / club at any level? Furthermore, at a national level, where I think that's what will be required, the involvement of the persons who control the national hierarchies, whether it be the Cricket Association or the government institutions or anything else. It becomes a bit more of a cumbersome machinery to get around, to have these things organized. Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it that that situation at Connery is born out of practicality just to get some cricket going?
But let me just get a little background here, Bob, as we get into it, right? Cricket was played in Warner Park since Warner Park opened in 1929, I think it was.
Right.
That's correct. Okay. Right? And the St. Kitts Cricket Association is the governing body for cricket over the years. Now, I am not opposing having cricket being played at Connery. I commend that. But I believe we're losing the opportunity for our youngsters to get the opportunity
To play in the
play
Warner
at
Park.
the Warner Park.
Right.
So I believe then they need to really look at the overall organization of the scheduling the games.
But is Cricket Association responsible for the Warner Park venue?
no, well, just like football. Football
No.
is not responsible. So what I'm saying is that you put a program together. If you have a program together, you can request.
Right.
And you can
Usage
bring
of the
program.
park.
Yeah, you can bring
Right.
your program together and say, look,
Okay.
this is the semifinals, just like they do with King Collins or they do with Warner Park for football and other sports.
Uh-huh.
So what I'm saying is that we are not seeing enough of that. Not only that, it's a challenge for kids in western part of Bastille have to go to Connery after school for a 2-hour practice, for an
Okay.
example. That's a challenge.
Right.
Not only that, they're not no real mainstream media advertising. We don't know about it. Couple clubs or couple persons hear about it. Like we'd hear an announcement for basketball every day. You'd hear something for football every day. We're not hearing anybody from the Cricket Association speaking about the activities. What are the plans for 2021? So these are some of the challenges. However, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I would like to really emphasize.
All right, so before you get to the light,
Yeah.
let me ask Mr. Batiste the same question I would have asked you.
Yeah.
In your understanding, what is being done now? Is there cricket being played now?
In terms of local cricket,
Yes.
there isn't any ongoing local cricket competition right now, as
Okay.
of now. But not very long ago, the Cricket Association had a tournament at the Connery Cricket Ground.
Also, they were involved in that tournament at the Connery Cricket Ground.
The Cricket Association, they organized that
Okay,
tournament.
okay,
Yeah, it
okay.
was a tournament that was
Okay.
organized by the Cricket Association, and Keith Atherton, I believe, was very
Yes,
much
because that's I know of his involvement.
in that.
Someone I have immense respect for. So I knew of his involvement. I did not realize though that it was him working alongside the Cricket Association. So the Cricket Association was involved in that.
Yeah, because the competition was actually named the Keith Atherton
T20.
T20
Okay.
competition.
Right.
That's
So
correct.
that's the last competition that has taken place here. But in terms of the local league, we haven't heard anything about that as yet. I heard Mr. James say that the Cricket Association, they have a meeting planned.
Right.
So it's very likely that the upcoming local tournament, we are hoping so, will come up for discussion in that meeting, because I think it is very important for the local tournaments to be staged annually. You need to have local cricket going annually, because
Agreed.
that is
Ongoing.
actually the stepping stone for the selection of the national team.
Agreed.
And if you have the national team being selected to take part in the Leeward Islands tournament,
Then you need to
you
have
to have them playing cricket, to
here.
prepare for that.
Exactly. And not only prepare to
So-
at least see who is
Right.
worth.
Exactly.
Correct.
So we will hear more about that in the upcoming meeting, hopefully.
So this meeting is some sort of general meeting. Is it, I'm assuming that the association is a membership-based organization
Yes,
as
it
well.
is.
Are you both members of the?
Well, we're not currently members at the association.
What does it take to become a member of the Cricket
My
Association?
understanding is that they have, I think, 2 levels of membership: individual membership or club membership.
Right.
Okay, so you could be an individual membership, which a number of persons. Sometimes I remember in the past you had more individual membership than club
You
membership.
got to start somewhere.
Obviously,
Yeah.
But I think it's a good gesture to have both.
Right.
You know, in the sense of that is one way you will reach out to the entire community,
Right.
and I want to really encourage that. You
Right.
know? So right now that there's the 2 memberships that they have, like I said, the club membership and the individual membership, and that's my understanding.
So how come you gentlemen have not been?
Well, the reason why I personally is not currently a member is because our club, the Caribbean All Stars, in the latter years, about maybe just over 5 years ago,
Right.
we were active members of the St Kitts Cricket Association
Right.
for several years.
Right.
We paid our fees for 3 years in a row,
Uh-huh.
and we get 2 games. We never get to finish a season.
Okay.
The pitch is not being prepared.
Right.
The grounds are not being prepared. No umpires showed up. So
Right.
a lot of the youngsters that we had, because we had at that time 38 youngsters,
Right.
about only 5 of us was really over 21, so to
Uh-huh.
speak, right? And the guys got, a bit dumbfounded in the sense that, hey, we can't get in the games. Youngsters who have part-time jobs, we go all the way down to Newton Ground, we go all over Montagues and stuff like that, and we don't have any games. So as a result of that, a lot of the guys got
disenchanted,
and they really walk away, right? Well, we considering movement because some of the guys gone into other clubs of like Newtown and Lions and so forth.
But let me ask you this question: and do you not think though you might be doing yourself and other potential Caribbean All-Star club members a disservice by not maintaining your registration and therefore having a greater voice in discussions surrounding what's happening with cricket? Because I'm almost certain that if you are at least up to date with your membership as a club,
yes,
then you would be privy to all the internal workings.
Totally agree.
And participation.
And participating.
Totally agree.
So do you think that maybe that may have when did you
well, let me just
stop
being
involved?
Yeah, let me just bring this up to date. I mean, this was a club decision because, like I said, we couldn't get the guys to show up to meetings because they're not playing. The youngsters want to play. Again, cars now telling me that we need to get back. So that's why we said we are considering it.
Right.
But I think the disenchantment is that when you, as an adult, Jerry, myself, and others go and we try to get the kids out, and you get 4 or 5 guys start showing up, and you try to call them, and the association has no games going on, nothing happening. I mean, you try to get the use of the academy, right? You apply for a year and 2 months before you can get the use of the academy to have a one-on-one coaching. These are some of the, and I don't want to really go down that road because that's history.
No, if you're having challenges, you're having challenges. I'm just trying to figure. The way I approach things is I look at solutions quite quickly.
Exactly.
So that's where I tend to sort of, from the time you hit me a problem, I'm gonna,
And that's why we thought we'd come here to kind of hear some of our views, and then this will really generate interest. People will start hearing. We have a chat line, people calling up, and people really identifying that these are challenges. Because not only that, Bob, right? Over the years, we have lost all our cricket grounds within Bastille.
When I say
lost, I'll explain that to you.
Okay.
In my going up and going back to come forward.
Right.
We used to play cricket at Greenlands Park.
Greenlands
Park by Sugar City. Just that park there, where they have those
that's all like a lot of broken.
Venezuelan Institute.
That's all like a lot of broken windows.
We used to play cricket there. We used to play cricket at the Gardens.
Okay.
We used to play cricket at Patsy Alice.
Yes.
More recently, they had cricket at the Paddock in Newtown. Right there.
Right.
They
use that for baseball now.
That's right. Right? Okay. Those are 3 areas where a lot of us grew up learning cricket.
Right.
Okay. Now, what I'm suggesting is, put that aside. Okay. There are a number of primary schools around, and maybe even secondary school to a lesser extent, that we can get 2 local use of those grounds if you make application and show what I will say a program, a holistic program. So we can say, okay, the kids out west down Limekeel and that area. I forgot to tell you too. We also used to play there just behind the brewery, Limekeel grounds.
Yes.
We had cricket there.
What is interesting is that most of these grounds are they're multi-purpose grounds in some instances.
They become multi-purpose. They become but it was not multi-purpose.
But they should be multi-purpose at this point, in my opinion.
And the reason for that is there is no cricket guide, no cricket leadership. The Cricket Association not going out to these communities. They're not encouraging people. Nobody going out to the Limekeel community or the St. Johnson Village community and talk cricket. That is one of the failure, right? Everybody's saying, but cricket, there's no cricket there. But there's only one place you're hearing it, at Connery. So the young, I had 3 youngsters from for an example, what's that there?
Caribbean also?
No, from the primary school there at the village, Connor. The primary school at the
So William Connor?
William Connor
right.
primary school. 3 youngsters, right? From a colleague of mine, right?
Right.
The youngsters looking good in cricket. I used to go out and help them. They stop playing cricket because there's nobody upon playing. They're going to play football.
But Mike, this is me here now, Mr. James.
Mm-hmm.
Leadership change at some point in time.
Yes.
And different visions. My issue is if other clubs or individuals who may have been involved in those days took a similar approach of they're not listening to us, they're not trying to engage the public, then what you have is a disenchantment on two separate levels. The teachers and trainers and those who are passing down these traditions, which is what I would consider you gentlemen at this stage. And then now there's that disconnect now because the youngsters whom look to yourselves now for that type of direction, because you and I both know growing up for us, playing cricket they always had challenges. Sometimes even bigger challenges, such as racism. But because you had the elders whom continued to fight the battles
Leadership.
that sometimes they weren't even persons, they were men from the community.
Yes, leadership. Yeah.
And many times you would hear about persons who were cricketers whom never made it into the spotlight.
That's correct.
But were not only did they shine as individuals within their particular, community and country,
Enthusiasts.
but they also sprung a whole new breed of youngsters who looked up to them. And my thing is, I know that there is, you see, having been through so many different public administrations, I know those wheels are very, very difficult. So whether it be private bodies like the St Kitts Cricket Association or national bodies like the Ministry of Sports, and those wheels are always more difficult to turn. And it takes sometimes the little wheels like us on the side to sort of keep the momentum going.
That's why we're here.
So that the big wheels now,
That is why we're here.
when they kind of,
Yes,
we grab. So I say that to say, I want to encourage both of you to restart the Caribbean
Oh yes, like I said.
All Stars.
Yeah.
And re-enter back into, because I consider myself a free speaker. I know that sometimes there's a bit of a parochialism, for the lack of a better expression. I'm being from Trinidad. It's kind of hard to find a home ground. First of all, when you first get here, you're never really settled. And then when you do settle in the community, it takes a while for the community to embrace you as one of their own for you to. So what tends to happen for us as persons, expats and stuff who find, living here in St. Kitts, we tend to have to forge our own little communities within the community, just as involved, just as relevant, just as, but
Chart out your own niche.
chart your own, with your own nuances.
Yes.
And they have found a way to sustain itself. And we have to continue to find a way to sustain ourselves. From the perspective of that voice is very critical in the entire membership.
Bob, let me just jump in here and say something that before my colleague Rodney come out. But I think it's very important. Because like I said, my background go more overseas in Canada than
Right.
here. I've developed cricket in the region of Calgary where it's football
Was the
and
main
hockey.
sport. Right,
And I had to go and show these kids what a cricket bat and a ball is like.
right.
I did that from primary school all the way up to university. Over 1,000 kids in the years that I was there.
Okay.
I took a team from Calgary down to Barbados on a tour.
Mhm.
I've done a lot for cricket. I came back home here to bring some of that experience to the cricketing body here.
So what are
Which-
the suggestions?
which-
Give me some
The
suggestions.
suggestion that I said, look, you really look at it here. You have an old boys club. We
Right.
need to move out of that. And we need to look at the youths. We need to bring the youngsters in at administrative level even. We need to have competitions where the kids can run and understand the rudiments of cricket by way of discipline, mental toughness or concentration, injury prevention, the holistic approach including nutrition, right? Umpiring, clinics, programs, training,
Scoring.
These things to me must be continually advertised Like, for an example, football.
Taught.
You taught, right?
Why are they? How are
you
they
hear
taught
it-
now in schools?
Not as far as we know. There's no ongoing programs right now, as far as we know. Like football, like I mentioned it about football, right? I'm saying that the primary schools, they need to have competition among themselves. Then you can have the champion primary school from East Zone with the champion primary school from Central Zone and West Zone coming to Warner Park to play the semifinals.
Has this been tried before here? Have we ever had a primary school competition in
Well,
St. Kitts?
the only thing that we had going, and I have to commend it because I'm in the studio here now with WINN FM, Vernon Springer had an under 13 regional program
Right.
that was very active.
So, question for you.
And that was
Okay.
a competition.
And that was a
tournament.
tournament,
Yeah.
A
right?
tournament.
But let me just finish the thought on that. Just one sec. What we thought was that was excellent, bringing in the kids from the regional, right? But there was nothing after the under 13 tournament that the Cricket Association tried to embrace and say follow up to any extent to have another tournament on that level. Quite fair to say we had some under 15s and we have some under 17, under 19. Those are periodically. We are talking about an ongoing all year round program. This is what cricket is and football is all about now. Because you have the kids moving through very fast through high school.
Okay.
And as they move to the different levels, they go to the different tournaments. But you can't have an under 13 and then, hey, there's a big gap and nothing. So the kids kind of, they're going off to other sporting activities, right? That said, I believe that there is a lot of interest if our voice is being heard more in the community, if you reach out to the community, and I've identified some people in there who really want to help. But when you're not hearing anything from the persons who govern in cricket, it's like cricket is dead. So that's the image you get outside. You can go out and I went to Lime Keel a number of times with youngsters and tried to help them out and stuff like that. What's after that? You can't get to. You got to jump the wall sometimes to get over and over Connery because the place is locked. You got to jump the wall to get over where the economy because the place is locked. It's no advertising, nothing on the radio, the mainstream where they say, hey, cricket practices at this time. This is what's happening. A weekly, a monthly, a bi-weekly program like what we are doing here, where the powers that be will come in and inform the public at large and let them know these are the activities, what's happening in cricket, like what you hear for football, like what you hear for basketball and other sports.
Okay.
I'll rest right now.
I think it is very important to maintain the continuity because when you have under 13, after under 13, the next level is under 15, then under 17, under 19, and then you have the transition from under 19 to, let's say, an under 21 team or 21 and above. And you're looking now at players who are on the brink or on the verge of making either the Leeward Islands team, the Windward Islands team, and then going on to play for the West Indies team. So continuity is quite important, and unless we can maintain that continuity, it will make it very difficult for the youngsters to transition from one age level to the next.
No, let me ask you this hard question.
Yeah.
Do you have enough support / participation to warrant the numbers required to have a sustained tournament on all of these levels throughout a year?
That may very well be a challenge, yes. But I believe what can be done is, as Mr. James has alluded to earlier, we can have the primary school tournament.
Right.
We can have a primary school tournament throughout St. Kitts. He mentioned Central, East, West. So you cover
I think how many primary schools do you have in total?
Well, to be honest with you,
quite a number of
I
them.
think it's 30.
It's quite a number.
I had
Quite
a
a
number.
number.
I know there's supposed to be something like 11 high schools.
Yes.
Right. There are quite a number of them.
But you see it in track and field. That's the point. One saying a president is being there said, Bob. We have a president in track and field and football. We just need to tweet it for cricket. That's the more point. We don't have to go out and do the hard work. Because what will happen? The students from that primary school will support the people who's playing for cricket like they support the ones who playing for track and field or for football.
Right.
So we have something there already set.
But then you would now need a cricket coach,
That's
basically.
Right. That is where the Cricket Association come in.
As well as the
primary
Ministry of
school.
Sports.
Yes.
Because I believe
That's what I was about
the
to say.
Ministry of
It's-
Sports, I
yeah.
believe they do have cricket coaches who are assigned to the primary schools as well as the high schools. To continue my point, I was going to say that we can also have the secondary school competitions.
Yes.
You have high school competitions amongst all the secondary schools, and you
Exactly.
can also include the
CFBC.
CFBC
Yes.
as well as AVEC.
Yes.
So you include all the learning institutions. You can also draft in even the private schools, the Adventist school,
That
the
is your
St.
base.
Christopher school. You get everybody involved.
Exactly.
Because mind you, Bob, a lot of people fail to realize that cricket in itself, in and of itself, is a career path.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
And people
Yes.
can make a lot of money from cricket. Youngsters who they may be academically talented and brilliant and what have you, but if they decide, well, I want to be a cricketer.
That's right.
I mean, there have been medical doctors who played football for Brazil. You understand?
Agreed.
Right. So
Agreed.
you can.
Cricket scholarship, something they look
Yeah.
at like football scholarships.
It
These
can
are the
become
areas we need to
a
look at.
career path.
Yeah.
So I think what needs to happen is the Cricket Association, in collaboration with all the clubs,
Yes.
and try to encourage the formation of more
Communities.
clubs, more community cricket, more club cricket, and everybody work together to develop cricket from all levels. We speak about grassroots all the time. Springer was doing a commendable job in the under-13 tournament. That tournament yielded a lot of top
A
regional
lot of it.
players
Yeah.
who have
But the
played.
people need to know. The
from-
people need to know, Bob. I mean, if the people don't know what the Cricket Association, the governing body of cricket is doing, nothing's going to happen. Football is leading. Basketball is leading. That's the point I'm raising here tonight. I'm trying to say that in order for we to reach out, the Cricket Association need to lead. They need to govern. They need to go to the town hall. They need to write the schools. They need to get a proper program in place, you know what I mean, to let us see this is the program we have for 21.
I will take that on board.
Yes.
And I will concede that, yes, sufficient is not being done
That's the point I'm making.
to advocate what is happening. I did see some ads for the Keith Atherton tournament, but otherwise I don't see a lot or hear a lot on the airwaves
Okay.
about it. But what I will say though is that I think that the membership of the current association is weaker without the Caribbean All-Stars. That point,
I'll take that point. I will take that
would be better made
I'll take that point.
as
That
a
point
full-fledged
is well
member.
taken.
I'll take that point.
And
We don't need any further elaboration. Despite the fact that
Yeah.
most of the members has gone to other clubs.
even if
That.
just
But
keep your
You can reform.
a few, yeah.
And I like that. I like that.
And
You
you would
rebrand.
you probably might be able to attract persons that they're
exactly.
wondering what's going on and want and feel the same way you feel. We've got a caller. We've got a caller on the radio. Good night, caller.
Good night.
Good night.
Hello?
Yeah, good night. To whom are we speaking?
I'm going to talk cricket right now, right?
Yes, definitely.
So, for example, right, all the glorious things you are speaking of, right? There is a cricket ground in Bastille after school that the young population could go play cricket.
Uh-huh.
Warner Park was there when I was a little boy because of Roman school, boys school, pastor school, I was in school, I would congrats in Warner Park, I would play cricket at afternoons. All the glorious things you are speaking of, where is the grounds? You had a ground up in the paddock of Newtown. You're playing baseball up there.
Yes.
All the glorious things you are speaking of. We used to go to different schools, but when school over, during holidays, Easter holidays and all them kind of things, you used to play cricket together as children going to different schools. I went to Roman school, but playing boys school. I played in village school.
Exactly.
But then right now, it is not happening. They take away the Warner Park as it was a gift for the people of St. Kitts, and it's no longer. Once they take that away from us, they should have given us something in replacement of Warner Park. So all the glorious things you are speaking of, it could never come to be unless they find a grounds, a green space in Bastille. I'm a Borak. people are coming to Warner Park and play cricket and football. It's no longer. It's no longer.
That's a
The
valid
thing is
point.
serious, yes. So yeah, we can going for kind of how. But at the end of the day, we would St Kitts youngsters go at afternoons to play cricket.
That's a
That
valid
is what
point.
y'all
Colin.
must look into.
That's-
Forget about coaching and all of these things. Because nobody coach me. But I coach people after. I had a nephew play for US Virgin Islands, Shovel Huggins. And I can't see, you ain't going nowhere. Nowhere we going.
If we don't have I think that's a valid concern, and but the question I would want to ask is then, because there is a maintenance of most of the grounds. Most of the grounds lie under the Ministry of Sport. As far as I'm aware, the Director of Sport of that department is responsible for the maintenance of the grounds. Is it that we need to get more qualified, more grounds people, persons who are specialized in managing cricket fields and the pastures and stuff like that? Or is it that you don't have enough people doing it? Are those
No. In all of that, what I'm referring to, they took away Warner Park from Bastille, for the people in Bastille. And
Okay.
they replaced Warner Park with no grounds at all.
But don't you
That is
think
that is what I'm speaking of. Forget about Ministry of Sport and all them kind of things. Once they took away Warner Park, there is the replacement.
don't
That
you
is when the
think,
young people went in find themselves in drugs and guns.
Carla, don't you think the
I
cricket
grew up in King Street. I grew
Carla,
up just below Warner Park, next to the police station.
yeah.
That was our hunting ground. Any repairs want us, go up the park card.
Okay, 2 points we want to make,
Go up the
Carla.
park card Tishiro.
Yeah, 2 points we want to make regarding your. I think you made a very, very good point, and thanks for calling. We appreciate it. I think my colleague was
Yeah,
saying something.
Carla, don't you think that the Cricket Association would counteract that by saying that the Connery Cricket Ground is now available for local people to practice?
No. Connery Cricket Ground is being controlled by the West Indies Board.
Or the St. Kitts Cricket Association?
I say Connery Cricket Ground
That's not true.
is being controlled by the West Indies Board.
No, the St. Kitts Cricket Association.
Listen to me. Connery Cricket Ground is being controlled by the West Indies Board.
No, I think the
But why
Cricket
would you make-
Association
why
would
would
say
you make
otherwise.
that-
And you'll find out that there because Connery does not have a cricket club. That's why Connery got a good football club, because Connery had their own football field over the same complex.
That's an
But
interesting.
Connery used to play cricket, but Connery does not have a cricket team.
Ask him K on the money.
So, okay, so you're saying that because Connery doesn't have a cricket team,
Team that cannot go on the cricket grounds. And West Indies Board is who control Connery cricket grounds.
I'm not understanding the relation. I'm not understanding.
Listen to me. Listen to what I'm saying to you.
Okay,
I played cricket on the old Connery cricket field.
right.
West Indies didn't have no control over it.
Okay.
Until
That was when
Connery
Connery.
got
On
involved.
the Cricket World Cup.
That was when Connery was. Did they have
Listen to me.
Did they have a
When
team
Sanford
then?
got- Listen to me. When Sanford got control of those lands, and then he tried to develop a new ground for the multi-purpose sporting complex.
Oh, okay.
Cricket was excluded. Cricket was excluded. Connery had a cricket team. Connery had
I
a
do
cricket
recall.
team.
I do recall that discussion. I do recall that discussion. No, my question is though, because I do think that the current cricket association, the St. Kitts Cricket Association, are the persons responsible for the Connery cricket
Period.
maintenance and everything else.
Include the Cricket Association with Connery Field, for example,
He's not
the
right.
paddock of Newtown. Do not include the Cricket Association. These was like community.
Oh, we lost the caller there. Well, that and the fact that we're 5 minutes over time, I want to recommend that we continue this conversation. As I said, my new time will be from 4 to 5 on Sundays, and I am under the impression that if needs be, I will have a little bit more flexibility up until the news time, which is 6 o'clock. So I'm very willing to pursue this conversation a little bit more. In terms of the caller whom he made a very, I think the essential point he was making is that in taking away Warner Park, you take away what was then the heart of all the youngsters, which was then made available at that point in time, made available to everybody from the Bastille, all and sundry from the Bastille region and communities, and it became the central point, and therefore you would be the breeding ground for what would have been a very good cricket culture. And since then, there's not necessarily been a replacement, which somewhat ties into what you have been saying in the sense that no cricket currently, not enough cricket is being played at Warner Park. But I think also what is compounding it, and it came out in the point he was making, maybe inadvertently, maybe knowingly, in that there were so many options at that point, even if you did not go to Warner Park, you had other options in different communities. They may not have been the best options, but there were still options being used, and therefore you had a lot more involvement in cricket on all levels, because once you have a pitch, you're going to get persons who are going to gravitate. What I have noticed is that there are two real active pitches, the one at Connery and then the one at Flow Grounds, which tends to go toward more recreational cricket and this kind of thing.
And ball cricket as well. Softball cricket.
Softball cricket.
Recreational. That's recreational. But Bob, I just wanted to really clear the air on this, right? Being a former employee of Cricket World Cup.
Right.
There were 1, 2, 3 approved venues by Cricket World Cup that you had to bring those particular venues up to a level for hosting Cricket World Cup.
Right.
Apart from Warner Park, which is the International Stadium, you had Connery, Keon, and Bonnews. There was a sunset clause involved, whereby that provided the opportunity for all the persons that's coming in relative to Cricket World Cup to utilize a high level standard of grounds. So perhaps that is what the call is starting about saying.
Connery, Keon, and Molyneux.
Yes. So perhaps that's what the call is starting about saying the West Indies take over Connery. But they didn't really take over Connery. It was a period of time during Cricket World Cup where the level of those cricket grounds had to be at a certain standard to accommodate the professional players coming in.
Because I think we hosted South Africa.
Yes, that's right. Six nations, right?
But I didn't want to get too caught up in that particular part of this question. Anyways, I've just been notified for the second time about the time. But as I said, at the soonest possible convenience, we can reconvene this discussion.
Sure.
Because I've written down at least 7 to 8 questions here that I wanted to get some follow-up on.
Fight up on Sunday.
I couldn't. Yeah, we can come on Sunday.
It might be good to fight up now that is fresh.
Okay, all right. Well, then let's resume as the next episode of the bench meeting. To our listening public, we apologize for starting late, and now it seems seemingly ending late. Thankful to the guys in the studio who've been working with me over the past few months on the Monday evenings. From what I understand, it's a different crew going forward. And thank you to you gentlemen for being here with me tonight. Thank you, caller, for calling in, and for the listening public for joining me on the bench meeting. And I will look forward to hearing and meeting and speaking with you this Sunday coming up, when it seemingly is now beginning to get exciting in terms of we really started to ask some hard questions. But the good thing is that we're also coming up with some very good answers. And good ideas. So let's do this again soon, and see you all Sunday from 4 till 5 to start it off on the bench meeting. So
well, Bob, I just wanted to say thanks very much for having us. I think this was a good opportunity for us to dialogue with you and the community, public at large, because I think we are all streaming. And like I said, we'll take up the invitation. Will be here on Sunday.
On Sunday, no problem.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night.